Preston, we're not sure who it was at this point, felt like the rest of us here that this was going too far, it was getting dangerous, and there was going to be problems in the future. It had to be brought to a stop. The project had to be crashed. And the most effective way to crash it was to make something hungry that would cause them to panic. Throw them into a panic.
Information that someone was tapped on the shoulder somehow and did some business to do this. Some information was passed along.
You know, you wonder if you worked there at all or not, but you have been living with your folks for a long time. Don't they know? Did you ever ask them what you were doing in these time periods?
He had no time loss. They returned him immediately
Just before it happened.
Yeah.
Before it happened. So he was never gone. Even though he could have been out looking for himself.
I came home from work so freaking tired.
He essentially lived a couple of years in 1 year.
Yeah.
How do you make a living normally? I mean, they stay outside of this project.
As a microwave engineer.
And you're still getting a check
Oh,
and paycheck or whatever.
I come home from work. I felt like I'd worked 20 hours, 10 hours, 20 hours, anywhere in there.
Even more.
And since about 83, I haven't had that. Since 83, I've been fine. But from about 75 until 83, God was I tired. But I wouldn't remember any of it because they would bring me back to milliseconds before I left and it'd be a closed loop. But the experience and the education would come through. That's why I went into metaphysics. But this other project, I was heavily in metaphysics. Originally, before that, I was a nuts and bolts electronics type person. I didn't even metaphysics. That was my reaction.
Yeah.
But
this is for idiots type.
Yeah.
Thing.
But because I've done so much in this other function, it's still enough filtered through that I developed an interest in this, what I call this life, if you want to say, of metaphysics. And that was their downfall. Because it was that made me conscious of what was going on at Montauk was the source of these interfering signals. Of course they were interfering signals. They were following up my research and all that.
Was there any sense of in all these experiences you were doing, going into the future, etc., and all of that there was some real higher force, there was a higher force that existed who sort of was more in control than the people were at the station? You know, people have their little kingdoms and they think that they rule the world in a sense, but as you were going through the experience, do you sense higher forces, much higher forces, that really have something to do to say about destiny and how things go on this planet? Very mystical experience is what I meant, I'm sorry.
Well, since Duncan is deferring to me on that one, I'll try to answer it. I would say that during that period itself, looking back on it, there was no awareness on my part, and I don't think there was any on Duncan's part, of such a higher agency, if you will, directing our efforts at that point. I would say very definitely there was before that point, and at some time in the past we were aware of it, but perhaps not in our respective earlier lifetimes, of this lifetime, but further back. And since then, very definitely, that there's some kind of, if you will pardon the expression, a divine plan involved in this whole thing, which is very, very difficult to explain, very difficult to extrapolate on. There was a reason for all of this happening. I know that without any question. What that reason is still not clear. And I think Duncan would agree that, yes, he knows that there was some kind of a reason for it. Preston would probably agree with it. And he's looking at it from the mathematical and the nuts and bolts end of it to try and come up with a reason. And it's not easy. Yes, there was a reason why it happened. If you go back into, as I will shortly, go back into the Philadelphia experiment end of it, which was the beginning of the whole business, one can see from the way that thing was maneuvered, that there was a higher hand of some kind involved in setting the whole thing up, because it would never have happened the way it did, unless two obscure dates, 40 years apart, coincided with two experiments.
If I could just add something directly to your question, quickly. having to do a scene and knowing possibly some other intelligentsia. There's a function of the time tunnel where a person, or in my experience per se, it's the only thing I can relate to, when a person moves through a number of procedures, there's a point in maybe 2/3 down the tunnel as perceived where there's a very big thump. The energy leaves the body. There's a tendency to see on a broad scale. I can only answer that question theoretically. Looking back on it, I'm sure there is and there was some intelligence there, certainly a higher form than we know. As to the recognition of it, I would have trouble in that sense, but there is what I call a full out, where the energy leaves the body, and there's a tendency to see on a very broad scale. That's partially what they were trying to do at Montauk, is to stabilize and to freeze what I call a full out, the seeing process.
They didn't want you to see it. Is that what you're saying?
No, they were trying to manifest that
Oh, they were.
for whatever their purpose was.
And in your travels, did you ever go back in time and see other of your own lifetime? Did they ever ask you to do that?
No.
So there was things that you could do that. But
You could, but it would be
theoretically.
Yeah, it wouldn't be in their interest.
No, but I just wanted to say for asked you to.
I have no information directly, but theoretically it's very possible to influence a person's function, however back so far.
What was the role of the aliens at all? I mean, other than the chair, which they had
Okay,
given you?
that would be the earlier part of this that we haven't got into yet.
Okay.
Let's look at another little sideline here. What was done, one of the cute little trips that they made was they made a trip from 83 back to 63 to install him in a new body. That's all I knew of it, that they installed him in a new body. I don't know why, but Al could of course tell us why.
Yeah.
I think this would be a good time to, let's go in and discuss the Philadelphia experiment. Why don't I first give like a general overview of what they did technologically?
Can we take 5 or 10 directly?
Sure.
Is that adequate?
Yeah, let's take a
break. Yeah, let's take a break. Great, please. Thank you.
Dodge Caravan before the front got broken. Backed up to the main door in the back of the big building. This is the main radar building. This really, we should go to this picture later. That's essentially what it is.
All I know is what I got here. I don't know what the deal is.
All right, let's go to the next picture. It's out of focus. This is leaving the site. Of course, there's my car again. And the red building is one of the old leftover radar buildings that they didn't use. The round things, we don't know what the hell the round things were.
In Mary?
The street coming out.
Okay.
That's the back end of the main antenna. This thing is an antenna which is roughly 300 foot by 200 foot. And that tower that goes this way, the gain horn is mounted on. That's the omnidirectional antenna. And the little thing on top is shaped like that is the IFF antenna. They didn't use the IFF.
Is this for the project?
Yeah. This is the transmitter? This is the transmitter. You're looking at the transmitter. Like anyone that has any sensitivities, this is a full shot of the building. Anybody that has any sensitivity can probably feel the energies coming off this picture.
This is a fallen tower, or
We
what?
have an extra tower.
We have a pointer for him so he doesn't have to point something, a stick or something.
Oh, yes, we have a poker.
Okay.
Here it is from the pointer comes. This is going to be a ride using the fireplace. This is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5,